Ladies and gentlemen, On the Sofa with Esther has a special 3-part series in the run-up to Valentine's Day, in conversation with Cindy Jarrett, about conscious dating in an unconscious world. And on Monday the 13th of February, we are going to have a special interactive live session. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Sofa with yours truly, Esther Austin. And once again, I have the dynamic Cindy Jarrett with me today. And today we are going to be talking about self-love, clearing the heart for loving clearly. And this has been part of the series Conscious Dating in an Unconscious World, but really conscious dating. So Cindy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And prior to this, we've done segments on what is conscious dating. That was in part 1. Part 2 is about beliefs. And as I said, this segment is about self-love. And what we are going to be doing next week, we have a treat for you just before Valentine's Day. We're going to be doing a live session with Cindy. So I'm going to be inviting you all on, and we are going to be going through a process about self-love. And also she's going to be touching a bit on beliefs. And, you know, if you want your life to change around, if you are looking for love in all the wrong places, then you need to be here, because you're going to be looking for love in all the right places after a session with Cindy. So that's going to be a live session on Monday, the 13th of February, just before Valentine's Day. I'm sure for many of you who take part in this, Valentine's Day is going to be the best experience ever. And not just for yourselves with a significant other, but even if you are on your own, it's going to be the best experience for you. So welcome, Cindy.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to let you know that this book is available on Amazon. It's only $13.99 right now. So if you are moved to want to get the book, because this is a workbook, and the full conscious dating training that I do individually with people is in this book.
Excellent.
And, Amazon has it at the lowest price it's ever had. So this is a good time to get it if you feel moved after listening to these.
Excellent. And I've read the book as well, and a couple of my friends have got the book. We've put some of those, you know, a lot of it into practice. You know, it takes time, but the main thing is that you start. So for today's session, Cindy, we're going to be talking about self-love. Yeah. And I love the you know, how you put it, self-love, clearing the heart for loving clearly. So over to you, Cindy.
Great, thank you. So if we're talking about conscious dating, we're talking about you're wanting some kind of configuration of a beloved relationship, which means you have to be a beloved to be loved by a beloved. And so the whole thing about self-love, a lot of people throw it out there, but they don't necessarily say, well, what is it? What does it look like, you know, in practice? And what are some of the practices? And, you know, as I like to quote Shrek, and I say, I'm a delivery gal, you know, I'm not a messenger. And so I like to teach people processes and practices that bring you about what it is you are seeking in relationship. So self-love is so important in conscious dating. It's so important in relationship, because there will be dips in all relationships where your partner isn't available for you, which means you need to be available with a toolkit for yourself. And so, and the other thing is, one of the things that doesn't work in the unconscious dating world is people seeking someone to love them more than you love yourself. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And a lot of people want to do that. They don't necessarily want to do the work on themselves. They want to just find that person that's going to love them, and they'll finally have that, you know, grace. But, you know, we work with resonance, and we work with, if we don't love ourselves and we question our value, our worth, our lovability, then you want to work on that. You want to pay attention to that. If you feel anything like that, if you can't look in the mirror and really stare at yourself in the eye to eye with your own self and soul, And that tells you that you have some shame or you have some loathing that goes on. In the book is a list of what is self-love, what are self-love practices, what is self-loathing. And I like to work with people when I do individual session work is, I have them, tick the box, down the list of where do you engage in self-loathing and where do you engage now in self-love? And a lot of times I like to have people do an S for strong, a D for developing, or W for weak. And there usually is weaknesses in these lists of self-love practices, that, I haven't gotten around to that, or I'm not, tending to that. Sometimes people are all about the presentation and the body, and they're forgetting about the heart and the heart work that has to happen. So most people are in some kind of dance with strong, developing, or weak in terms of how they love and care for themselves. But it's so important because your practices of self-love will be called upon in a beloved relationship. It will. Because if you doubt yourself, if you have shame, if you have any, judgment against yourself, recrimination, negative self-talking, all that stuff that just kind of tears at a soul in this itty bitty living space of our bodies, it just works against you. It's counterintuitive, and you don't really draw to you the kinds of relationship that you really, really need. We need people, and it's one of the things you want to have on your 50 or more traits and qualities of what you want in a beloved. And again, that exercise is also in the book of writing out 50 or more traits and qualities that you prefer, want, need in a beloved relationship, and what you're going to bring. And I find clients are, it's real easy to claim what I'm going to bring, but standing for and writing out all that I want, that's harder. Or it's very clear. I'm very clear about, what I want, but what I'm bringing, that seems so self-centered or, narcissistic or whatever. And like, no, narcissism, self-centeredness, selfishness, and self-love, they are all very different. We're talking self-love here right now of when you love yourself, people respond to you and they're like, I just want to know you. I want to talk to you, or they'll open their hearts to you. And
it's like a magnet, isn't it? Yeah. It's a magnet of light, because you have different magnets. I mean, you can be magnetized to negativity or self-loathing, but the magnet of self-love is like a butterfly. Yeah. It just keeps opening, and this whole thing of self-love, though, what I would like to do after the break, Cindy, is for you to just give us some samples of that self-love, because I've got to share that many years ago, because I've struggled with that at points in my life. And I remember this woman, she was sort of mentoring me, or wanted to mentor me at the time, and she kept on talking about self-love, and she goes, you got to take time out for yourself. I couldn't understand that because, I'd brought up 2 boys and I was always on it. I was been working on this journey, not just my own emotional journey, but working in the business in terms of where I've got it now. And, in between looking after the kids, working, then working on the dream, I was always doing this. And I remember her saying to me, you need to stop. You need to take time out for yourself. I didn't understand. I had to discipline myself to understand what that meant before I could implement it. I didn't understand. And even when I slowed down, I remember watching Cat on a hot tin roof one time, because that was my time out. I had to sit on my hands to stop me from reaching from the phone or the laptop. And she goes, you have to understand about self-love, because it's about self-care. And part of that was taking time out. And I had a really hard time stopping to embrace that. So when we come back, ladies and gents, Cindy is going to actually go through some of what self-love looks like, and some of the practices of self-love. So see you on the other side. Book your exclusive experience today with Tony Jazz, bespoke lifestyle manager to the rich and famous, professional butler and fine dining restaurant reviewer, the butlers of Mayfair bespoke events. Your wish is our command. Cindy is now going to give us some tips, tools, guidance about what self-love looks like. What is it? What can we do?
Yeah. So just so you know, this is a list that I have that's in the book that delineates, what it is. And I start at the top of that list is knowing myself. So it's, what you want and need and prefer, your dreams, your goals, and also what's possible in each situation and scenario. You know what you want and need in anything life throws you, because you've taken the time, and I like what you said prior, you've taken the quiet time, the meditative time, the journaling time, undistracted time, quiet time to feel and to connect up with what is it in me that I really, really want and need in being loved and loving myself. So the more you love yourself, the more you are a magnet for people to love you. And it's essential for conscious relationship. If you don't want to love yourself, then you'll get the consensus reality kinds of relationship, the teaching relationships that keep feeding back. You haven't loved yourself, you're not loving yourself much, you'll get that feedback. But knowing what you want and need is the first step to all creative processes. So the creating self-love for yourself is stopping, slowing down, and looking at, who am I? What do I want and need? And telling the truth about that. Another piece of a responsibility in loving yourself is knowing your impact, knowing the impact you make, with your habits, patterns, and behaviors and beliefs, thoughts, feelings, attitudes, to understand those different categories of how you express yourself and the impact that you make on others. And wanting it to be loving, kind, gentle, productive, inviting, inspiring, all those higher resonance qualities of being. If you want a life of that, it comes from a base and a core of loving yourself. And you can give so much more from an overflowing cup of self-love than you can from, low-level battery light blinking that says, I need a jumper charge or whatever. And I always tell people, is the glass half empty or half full for you? I'm like, I like overflowing. The cup is overflowing. Fill your cup, because you can give so much more to the people you love and care for, and they feel it. And there's just this wonderful mutual reciprocity. Yeah. Everybody has negative and positive habits, patterns, and behavior. If you have negative habits, patterns, and behaviors, chase them down. Don't wait for them to show up and rear their head. Chase them down, journal them out, figure out what are the viable alternatives in behaviors that you would rather be being and bringing out into the world. And that will up your self-love quotient. The other thing is to keeping right company is so important, that you are in the presence of people that match or are more successful, and I'm not just talking business, but more successful in their self-love, that you can learn from. Have people you can learn from, or you are definitely in a reciprocal way of loving and caring and having a vibrant life. Because when you're with people who are it's called crabs in the box, they don't put a lid on the top of crabs in a fishing box, because if one tries to escape, the others pull them back in. And it's that whole the Godfather, I get out and they pull me back in,
Yes.
and so you want to pay attention. If you have, vampires in your life that are sucking your life force, if you have people that are not kind, you don't deserve that. Just stand for being loved is a part of self-love, is you standing for being loved.
But with that, Cindy, just briefly, a lot of people stay in it because they find it hard to come away from the crowd. They find it hard to stand alone. And that's a real act of faith. Because just very briefly, 2 years ago, I was doing some campaign work. And one thing I won't do, I just can't stand, I won't be around tittle tattle. And in a lot of these environments, there's lots of bitching and tittle tattle and all that stuff. And, it really gripes at me. And I really try not to get drawn into that. And I remember getting up a lot of times and walking away from those situations. And I remember I bumped into someone some months later, and she goes, "I really admire you." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because I used to watch you just either get up and walk away or you distance yourself." It's been years of me doing that anyway. And sometimes, I must admit, there's been 1 or 2 times when I've sat in it and my spirit's like, "You need to get up and leave this." And I'm like, "Oh, but if I get up, everybody's going to be watching me. What are they going to say?" And I've sat in it and I felt so sick and ill afterwards. Mm-hmm. So I just usually politely say, "Excuse me, I need to leave." And I will distance myself. So it is quite difficult for a lot of people to make that stand. But then you said something key there, which I hope will help all of you in doing something like this. When Cindy said, what do you deserve? It's all about you deserving. It's about you deserving. And when you're coming from that place, actually, I deserve to hold on to my peace. I deserve to hold on to my truth. Then that key word will hopefully help you to stand up and walk away, or get up and walk away. So I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, it's very good. It's all, real and true. Mm-hmm. And you can't always exit. One of the practices of self-love in a being level, there's things that you can physically engage with, absolutely, and then there's the being toolkit, and one of that is that you never ever let go of the 4 cornerstones of relationship, which is creativity, choice, possibility, and love. So those 4 cornerstones of creativity, possibility, choice, and love, you never ever let an external circumstance, a breakdown, or another person take you out of relationship with those 4. So you keep your connection to love. You keep your connectivity to knowing that you absolutely always have choice to leave an environment. And you just, say, "Excuse me, I need to go now." And a lot of people go, "Oh, don't go." There's all that, crabs in the box, stay. And then you just stand firm, and you can do it with kindness and possibility, that you always know something is possible to change, to improve. I love, if some of the listeners know about Abraham, the channeled consciousness, the statement of, "This is my life working out." That's a wonderful way to live life, with all the good, grateful things that are happening in your life and all the breakdowns that happen. This is my life working out. I don't know why. Particularly in the breakdown camp, I don't know why yet. A relationship ends. It doesn't go anywhere. Well, this is my life working out. I don't know why. You lose a job. The things that tend to instill fear or loneliness. And I like what you mentioned, Esther, about the being alone for a while. When you're creating something new coming in, you have to create the space for it to enter. If you're dating 3 people that, isn't right company, isn't really right, it's draining your energy, draining your sexual energy, then there's no room for your beloved to show up. If you really know these 3 people you're dating, or 2 or 1, that isn't right, it isn't, we've done this with our daughter. I've said, "Well, is this someone you would want to marry?" And she hasn't said yes yet to anybody that she has ever dated or been with. And so And she knows I will always ask and keep a knocking. But the thing is, right company is sometimes hard. Sometimes it's family members. And sometimes we have to do a loving divorce from mom and dad or siblings, or aunts and uncles. Sometimes we just have to draw certain tight boundaries, because in our self-loving, we don't want, the drag and the drain on, our energy packs.
And sometimes that's the obligation because they're family. But, each person has to do the work on themselves. And I did say to someone recently, having loads of different conversations around consciousness and relationships. And, sometimes even with the elders, because they're elders doesn't mean that they are right. And they have a responsibility as well, because I've seen so many elders create so much dysfunction. And because they hold that role, it's, we all have to be on that road of accountability. Yeah, sorry, this is a great conversation. It's just drawing so much out, and I can sit and talk to you forever, but I know that our time is a bit limited. But looking forward to you doing your live session where people are going to be able to have a physical live experience with you, and for us to talk more about self-love. And so we've got about maybe about 5 to 10 minutes left, Cindy. So what else around self-love can you impart at this moment in time?
So one of the practices and actionables that you want to engage with that's so important is heal your past, so that you are unencumbered from the past. And how you've healed your past, and that is complete work, is you're not referencing your identity or your conversations on past experiences. It's fine to tell a story or to explain something. That's all well and good. But if you're operating all the time about, or from your child or your adolescent self, and you're an adult now, and or you keep referencing your wounds, yes, and your unhealed business, basically. So find a good, well-suited, well-matched, therapist professional to do your family of origin healing, to do your wounding healings, because we inherit, when we come together with a beloved, they inherit our stuff and we inherit theirs, all their unfinished business, as well as their traits, talents, and abilities, and as well as their, contractive shadow work that is maybe unconscious still, and their negative beliefs. We inherit that. So clean up your beliefs. Clean up your past pains. Be clear, be, freed from that. Have truth lead over love, where you are always in the pursuit of what is the truth of something.
Yes.
Some people, will throw out, the sort of esoteric, well, truth is subjective, and it's changing, and yeah, sure. And at the same time, there are certain truths about your wiring, and to be honest about that, and that'll influence. When I met Thomas and we were on our second date, he was smoking a cigar, and I was a dental hygienist at the time. My dad was dying of emphysema, and I'm just health conscious and a non-smoker. And I looked at him and I said, you aren't going to get to second base if you smoke cigars. And his big brown eyes got wide, and he pulled the cigar out, threw it on the ground, and he's never smoked one since. That's me standing for myself and who I knew I needed to be with. And there was, there was a breakdown in the space. And I was like, nope, I can't have that. And now he could have said, sorry, you're not going to tell me what to do, or get adolescent, or he's, or he would say, well, I'm a cigar smoking kind of dude. And I'm going, well, it's been lovely meeting you, and bye-bye, because I can't live with that. I can't abide by that. That's me. Other people don't care. They don't have that criteria. So you got to know your, in terms of conscious dating, you got to know what your deal breakers are. What are the things that you will walk away from? Absolutely, when it occurs. And so there's that. clearing your negative beliefs to completion, making sure, learning about the conscious dating vetting process, how you vet a potential partner. There's a lot of steps and stages and layers to that. And that comes from self-love. I'm going to take the time to get to know you. I like you. I'm attracted to you. We definitely feel a nice connection. You're kind of ticking all the box, but I still need to find out how you are in deliverables. Are you just a potential? Are you just a aberration of, good thoughts? Or are you someone that can actually deliver on what you say? The thing about love relationship is we need to be trustworthy. We need to be bringing trustworthiness. And trustworthy people are words and actions are consistently aligned over time. You break that consistency, you break trust. And so people won't believe you. The chronic late person. And eventually you just go, well, this is a chronic late person. But if it's someone you really care about and you're left sitting and waiting, just say, look, I got it. You have a thing with time. Let me get you a watch. Let me get you an Apple Watch with a timer on it, a buzzer. Or let's have an agreement that you call me if you know you're going to be late a good 20 minutes ahead. If you're going to be late, call the person. That's respect. That's trustworthiness. That's saying, hey, I recognize that this is something you need and I can't deliver it, so I'm preparing you. And a lot of people, some of this, just the smallest acts doesn't have to break trust, but trust is an energy like glass and it can shatter quickly. And I always say to people, aren't there people in your life that you love, but you don't trust them? Trust can be broken in a singular incident. And nowadays people are ghosting, letting go, just discounting, not willing to work things out and work things out thoroughly with good friends, long-term friends, or beloveds. And they don't necessarily have to end a relationship because something shows up. Everything is workable if you have a conscious counterpart that is willing and mature to do the work of that and to do it to completion.
Sorry, apologies. Thank you. Sorry for butting in, but this whole thing of ghosting as well, I think that's got to be a subject in itself, because I do a lot of intuitive readings, and a lot of the women are still in this place waiting for him to come back because there's been no resolution. They've just disappeared. And so there's that residue of not knowing. And so that's something that I feel we need to do a series on, because I had that experience some years ago and it brought me to my knees. It was a good thing it happened, in hindsight. But at the time, I was just like, why couldn't you have the decency at least to say, even if it was a text, just some sort of closure, but nothing. And so I took it upon myself about 3 months later, because I needed to find resolution, to go and to speak to the person. I didn't shout, I wasn't aggressive, but I said, this is not the way to do things. I said, I'm coming here as an adult to put closure to this. And so that is a very important subject, because the residue of that is quite
it's impactful.
It's very impactful.
And in the conscious dating book, there is a list of how to say goodbye. And it gets more and more intense with people that don't believe you, or, the stalker or whatever that goes like, no, you're just playing the game, talk about in movies and stuff. And it's, so you can learn how to say goodbye in a conscious dating context. And I've had so many people, their counterparts that they've had to use that with, acknowledge them and say thank you. Because to leave someone guessing just because you don't want to disappoint somebody or hear somebody's maybe disappointment, or you think you're going to hurt somebody, well, it hurts worse than non-communication.
Yes.
I want to speak a little bit to online dating, since that is a primary place people tend to meet nowadays.
Okay, well, let's just take it. We're going to just go over to another break. And then we'll touch on that subject afterwards. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you that I am talking to Cindy Jarrett, and today we are talking about self-love. But when we come back, she's also going to touch on online dating. Hope you're enjoying the show. Hope you're going to take away a lot. And Cindy, could just show us your book before we go over to the break. The Path of the Golden Heart: Conscious Dating and an Unconscious World. We'll see you on the other side.
On Amazon. So with the online dating, I really like to underscore that you go slow and get to know. Go slow and get to know. You really want to vet up front. I like to teach before you get sexual. And most of my clients don't do that, but some do, and they get the benefit of that, of going slow and really getting to know. And I remember people commenting about they were always the mistress, and they're no longer the mistress. They found their beloved because they really took the time to vet each other, get to know, ask all the questions, and go through the process together. And then they chose each other. And that was like months in. I mean, if you're sexually attracted, you'll get to that. You'll have all that fun, and that'll be great. But sexual energy stays when you have sex with someone. Your energy field is commingled with that individual's for 3 weeks. Think about it, 3 weeks. And so if you're dating multiple people, having sex with multiple people, energetically, you can feel angry and it's not yours. You may not know why, or you feel depressed. And it's like, it's not your energy, but it's in your energy field. And so you want to be really responsible with your body in self-love. This is your home. When this shuts down, heart stops, or coma, or what, game over, it stops. So you want to take care of the home that your soul and heart lives in. And so it's very important. But with online dating as a self-love act is take time to do, we have these videos. Now, COVID kind of helped with some of that, organically. People took longer times. They did more vetting on video. Do Skype, do Messenger, do Zoom, and go through the questionnaire. Ask them if they want to engage in the conscious dating process, that you got this cool book, you heard about this process. Pull them into it. And if they go, no, I'd rather just, get to know you organically, that takes longer time. And that takes, I'd rather meet with you in person. I want to meet with you in person. Like, they push for that too soon. And you want to know a lot of things up front. Like, what are their intentions? What do they want and need? That's a self-love act. I'm going to find out what you are seeking, because if you're seeking something other than what I want, I love myself and I love my time. Time is limited. We all going to die. And some people are dying real young lately. And it's like, hey, so you want to, make sure that you protect yourself. And particularly it is more sometimes for women. I had a client, she had a date that she realized she just wanted to, end. He followed her home and came to her door saying, I've got hot chocolate, we didn't really get to complete. I just, I'd like to have a little more time. The fact that he followed her home should have been the hugest red flag. Absolutely. So be careful. She let him in. He spiked the drink and he raped her. So some of the people that I've worked with have been raped in their dates. There's an arrogance out there. Guys that think, your body is mine to do with as I please. And that is a patriarchal cultural thing that has to shift. And that's another. That's one of those. Because I have some thoughts around the #Me Too movement and how it got executed, and how we need to, I think, bring a little more grace and a little more gradations, of how we condemn. I mean, the Weinsteins and the Epsteins, they're clear cut. I mean, that is the grotesquest. That's assault. That's rape. That's, that's clear. But the one that, is a comedian who is telling a joke, they could change the culture and more aware possibly and all that, and give them a chance to course correct through education. I think we need to educate men.
And you talk about the culture, though. You mentioned the culture. There's a culture of condemnation out there. There's a culture of damning. But that, like I said, all of these are for another conversation, because we're going to still start to wind this particular one down. And just to remind yourselves, ladies and gents, that on the 13th of February, Cindy is going to be hosting. We're going to be hosting a live Zoom interactive session where Cindy's going to go through some of the processes of self-love. And I also believe that it's important to touch on beliefs. So hopefully you can do some practices around beliefs. And then if you've got any questions that you'd like to field to her on the day, then that will be your moment. So details of this are going to go out onto my FB page. And yeah, let's really immerse ourselves in this. This is a new year, new start, and just know that you're deserving. You're deserving of something different, something better, and it starts with you, so that you can have your significant other. And so, in winding down, Cindy, how would you like to sort of close on this particular segment?
Yeah. Well, if you haven't witnessed what it really looks like in self-love, I don't want you to let that stop you. And a lot of people can claim that. I don't know anybody in my circle who really loves themselves. And that doesn't have to stop you from learning how. And the good news is you can change any negative habit, pattern, behavior, thought, feeling, attitude, belief. You can change all that to serve you. You're not stuck with any of your negativity. You aren't. If you choose to be stuck and not do the work to, reclaim or newly claim or rewire or reprogram, because a lot of what we have inside of us is just a program, and we can take out the old tape and put in a new one. And that's the cool news, is you can change your reality. You are in charge of that. And with that, when you really let that in, and one of the things my spiritual teacher said for many years, and it took me a while to hear it multiple times, and that is, the goddess knows your name. The goddess knows your name. Sorry about that, my ringer's on. Hey. And I love that statement when you really let that in, that you are a son and daughter of the goddess. And that you can collaborate and cahoot for good things for you in that collaborative relationship. Because the goddess isn't holding her arms, leaning back and go, you have love? I don't think so. Never would happen. Arms wide open, saying, believe that you absolutely can. I can't interfere. If you want to believe you can't, I can't interfere. But as long as you say yes, ask for, and you will receive. So
brilliant.
That's my closing. That's my closing.
Beautiful closing, Cindy. And as usual, just let people know, see your book again, and just let people know where they can get access to the book and how they can contact you, Cindy.
Yeah, this book is on Amazon. It's the full training in there that people do 9 months to 18 months with me individually. Now, individual work is very, very powerful. But if you're self-directive and you can read a book and be changed by the book and use a workbook, this is an amazing tool. Read the reviews on Amazon. It'll give you a sense of what people are learning and getting. It's only $13.99 right now, US dollars, on Amazon. It's at its lowest peak. And so is a good time to jump in and get it. And to reach me can be on Facebook, just under Cindy Jarrett, and you'll know it's me with the wolfie that's in the center circle photo, and then my horses are actually, there's a photo behind that. And then my website is designingaccess.com or .biz. Designingaccess.biz.
Brilliant.
And you can reach me there. You can certainly peruse the different projects that I provide and work with, and see if one you want to engage in. I only take on a few projects at a time because I work in depthly with people. So I am looking for two new sign-ons and clients that want to work in depth. But otherwise, you have the website to gather information for when the time is right. You have the book to start to support your process. And just reading this book, it will change your orientation and your practices to be way more successful in your dating process. So I wish you all the best. Thank you, Esther, so much for hosting me and having me today.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And I just wanted to say, I liked what you said in a previous session where you said, on the other side is freedom. On the other side is freedom. And on that note, ladies and gents, looking forward to seeing you on our live session on Monday, the 13th of February. Yes, the day before Valentine's. And I believe that information, that experience is going to be one of the best breakthrough, if you're ready for it, experiences. Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Frames worn by Esther Austin on the show today are sponsored by Run It First.